Tell the back to fuck up out my face, goddammit. I'm from Detroit, Michigan. Don't play with me.
Hey, howdy ho, Lions fans. Welcome to the Detroit Lions podcast, episode 528. This is the Detroit Lions 2024 draft results. And this is the official Detroit Lions podcast for Reddit. I am the dashingest of dashing hosts, Chris. And with me is my good friend and finally coiffed co-host, Jeff, the Riz Risen. What's going on, sleepyhead?
I'm here. I'm still awake. Woo! Been fun.
It was a long. Yeah. I was more wiped out Saturday than I anticipated. It was like 9 hours of broadcast. I know you were going hard too, for Draft Wire and Lions Wire. I was sad. My wife even, she was like, "Man, I don't know if I did something. Like he's just short. He's not happy." And like I woke up at like noon. And then I took like a 2-hour nap. The draft's going on. I was just like, I gotta sleep. So I got another 2-hour nap in at like 3:00. And then I got up and I was like, okay. And then I ate and I'm like, I'm just gonna play some games. And I just went up and sat in front of my PlayStation and crashed early. It took a lot out of me this week. I don't know why, man.
Thursday. Let me walk you through my Thursday. And this is draft related. Yeah. I arrived in downtown. I booked a parking spot ahead of time as the man advised me to. And I wound up parking north on Woodward of Little Caesars. Gotcha. And I walked downtown and hung out downtown and watched people walking around and talked to some folks, just anonymously. Like I didn't let them know, that I was credentialed media or anything. I'm just like getting the feel for the thing. And it was getting pretty busy by then. So I then walked from the river and the the Hart Plaza. And I walked then to the 4400 block of Woodward to go to an event with Amon-Ra St. Brown, sponsored by USAA. By the way, thank you, USAA. That was an awesome time. Thanks for the food at Hopcat as well and giving us access to Amon-Ra. It was great. It was a lot of fun. He was really good. He actually talked pretty in-depth about a couple things, which was somewhat surprising. He was very candid. And then I walked back downtown to Campus Martius, which is where the NFL Media Center was. And then in the NFL Media Center, like you had to do a lot of it was probably 500 steps each way to the bathrooms. And I was in there from 5:30-ish till 2 a.m.-ish. So I walked, I have one of those, funny ring trackers. It's pretty cool, by the way. Yeah. But it tracked that I had 26,000 steps on Thursday, plus working full time while I'm doing that. That involves, we wrote, I want to say we collectively, my Draft Wire team and Lions Wire team and I, we wrote and published, I want to say it was 78 things in that time frame. So, all right. And I only wrote probably 3 or 4, but just the volume of work. And then, I get back to the apartment. I stayed out in Canton, get up the next day, and I had to be in Allen Park by 11 for another Amon-Ra interview. So I got maybe 5 hours of sleep. Saturday night, more of the same. Or Friday night, more of the same. Didn't walk as much. I was smarter then. I was just, out and about. So I've gotten about 10 to 11 hours of sleep over the last 3 nights. And then last night was going to be a great night of sleep, and I wound up writing another project that took me until midnight. And I'm like, so I'm gassed. You can tell the bags under my eyes. I'm fried. So if I say something weird, I'm not drunk yet. I'd like to be.
They say being tired is just as bad as being.
I do have my celebratory. This is actually the first alcoholic beverage I have had since I got home from Mexico, I believe, which was a month ago almost. So yeah. So cheers.
Cheers back at you. I'm not alcoholic tonight, so I'll just drink.
It's been But the draft weekend in Detroit, it was just amazing. It was a fun time.
We'll
glad that I went. So glad that I saw a ton of people. It was cool.
All right, let's get to it. Let's talk about it. We did our intro. Yeah. We're going to talk about warm-ups. We do our warm-ups as people gather. We're starting to get people in here already. We are going to do a deep dive review on the 2024 draft. All those draft prospects we got. We're going to do an update on UDFAs. We got Panay St. Payday. What? We'll talk about that and a whole lot more. Got a great show lined up. Riz, are you ready to go, my man?
Oh, yeah, let's do it.
Let's kick this off and break it down.
All right. So at one point a little later, we're going to have what they know is a little bit of dust about one of the draft picks, but we'll get to that in a little bit. Right now, first, let's start with the warm-ups. All right. First off and foremost, draft, I don't know if you guys knew or not, it was in Detroit. Yeah, the draft was in Detroit.
Shocker.
And I just, more than anything, I want to say thank you, Detroit, for being who you are. So awesome. I spent almost 4 decades in Detroit. Love it. Love the city. It's still my home no matter where I live. And I just love to see how well it showed up. Everybody there at the draft, you guys, gals, you people were frigging awesome. And you showed the rest of the country, all those people that came to town, I mean, record attendance, right? You showed them what a city on the rise looks like. And I've mentioned this before. I travel a lot, and that's what happened when we weren't doing many shows. I've seen tons of cities around the country, and it seems like everywhere is on the decline except Detroit. Enjoy it, love it. You folks did awesome. Be damn proud. You folks did a great job. Love you. Despite the goofy sign, everything else was absolute perfection.
You know what? So I drove by the sign. It looked stupid in the day. At night, it kind of popped. It looked pretty good at night.
Okay.
So and I buy it. I feel better about it now than I did now that I've seen it in person. It was a little smaller than I expected, but it looked pretty sweet lit up. So.
Yeah. It was really. It's. I love the signs that people are putting all up, like Wixom and Warren, and like they're putting up their own.
I saw the one in Warren, and I saw the one in Plymouth, which, by the way, was spelled incorrectly. I think that was on purpose. I think that was like in jest. It was just fun stuff. Yeah. Yeah, oh. The volume 775,000 people is the official estimate. I think it was more than that, because I will tell you,
you were counting heads.
I wasn't. I can't count that high. Thursday night, though, when I wandered down, and I ran into some podcast listeners, and thanks guys, that was cool. They took a selfie with me, which was kind of fun. Didn't expect to get recognized on that. It's just sort of like I like to go out and like you know I sort of hid the credential away, and I'm like I just want to get the feel for everything that's going on. And like it was chaos, but like friendly chaos. Like as you know, Chris, I'm not huge on big crowds. Like I don't like big events like that. Not once in the entire weekend did I feel unsafe, and that includes walking back to my car some I don't know 2 miles from downtown. Like it was well lit. It was secure. I walked north of up past Little Caesars and up a ways, and like it was fine. Like I felt I didn't feel not at ease at all. No, there was I heard there was 2 arrests Thursday, 2 out of 300 and some odd thousand people that were downtown. By the way, both of them were for public smoking of pot in public. It's legal, but not that legal.
Yeah,
and that was honestly. My one,
it's legal like Amsterdam, not like New York City.
Yeah, especially early in the day, there was a lot of pot smoking going on in public. Like, and I'm not used to that, and that it doesn't bother me, but it was off-putting. And for people that came from states where it's illegal, there was a couple people from Pennsylvania that were like, "Holy crap, people are just smoking it!" Like. Yeah, that's what they do.
Confusion reigns. But
yeah, and
I think
they did a great job, man. They did a great job. I want to give. I don't know anything about the politics of Detroit, but I know that Mayor Mike Duggan did a fantastic job of representing his city this weekend.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
I give him credit for that. I thought he did a great job.
And I mean, with the estimates, I don't know if it includes the people that, as Don Burr talked about, the people that, or Beezer talked about, the people that broke through the barrier to get in. I don't know if they had that part of the estimation count. I'm not sure how they get the count together, but either way, it was fantastic. Yeah. It was super well put together. Great job, Detroit. That leads to the next piece that I want to talk about. And enjoy. All the people out there that are talking, and all the experts, all the people out there talking about the draft, the Lions absolutely killed it. Now, you're going to find on the Twitter or the X or whatever, you're going to find, and of course in Facebook, but if you go there, but you're going to find all kinds of, on the Reddit, places, people are, they suck, this is a terrible pick. You're going to find, these are the people that I've started saying this, it's kind of going to be a regular thing. You could get them all laid and they'd still bitch. I'm telling you right now, they're just out there and they're going to bitch. They're going to bitch. If you're that person, that's fine. If you don't like it and you know better than Brad, that's fine. You can be that. But for the 99.9% of the people out there that absolutely love what they saw, enjoy it, man. These moments, like this last season. Did we win the Super Bowl? No. And I know Donkey Kong is a Super Bowl or bus guy. But when's the last time in your life that you could celebrate making it to the NFC Championship game for the Detroit Lions? When's the last time you had that kind of a run in the playoffs and those wins and those kinds of the beating Matthew Stafford in the playoffs, those kinds of things happening? When did you get to experience that ever? Enjoy it. Breathe the rarefied air and enjoy it. Expect more, want more, desire more, but enjoy this. Enjoy this draft. Enjoy the post-coital fun of the city being so great for the draft. Just take it all in. Take a moment, smell the roses, enjoy it, because these things are not that frequent in life, and you get a chance. Do it. Let yourself enjoy it. Just do that for yourself. That's it. That's my message. It's this last season, that's what it's all about. Don't be you can if that's what gets you happy. But if you're the person that even when you're getting laid, you're unhappy, well, I don't know what to tell you, man. I don't know what to tell you. So
like, this girl's nice, but I wish her mom was here too or something. Like, don't be that guy.
Be Mr. Brightside for a little bit. All right, let's get into it. We got a lot to talk about here.
That's a good tune.
The Detroit Lions draft pick review. We're going to go player by player through this draft, and we're going to talk through each of these folks, and what we have and what we know, and where they were, so on, how we got there, all that kind of thing. So let's all buckle in. Let's talk draft picks. Let's get
seatbelt gang.
Malcolm, Stacy's mom does have it going on, Riz. And we're just going to talk about these folks and what we think, the Lions did in the draft. I'm going to start off with just a broad perspective of the Lions draft. Riz doesn't do draft grades. I think he has to. I'm not sure. We've kind of talked about it before, but then it's one of these things. People, you gave this guy an A 8 months ago, and look, he got injured. He's not an A at all. It's like, Jesus fucking Christ, people, stop with that. Yeah, 8 months changed. Things had changed, right? It's in the moment kind of a thing.
Oh my God, things changed, and you have to react to the change.
Yeah, and it's not what you said it would. Wow. You can't see the future. You don't have a crystal ball. You're no good. It's like, fuck people. So anyway, we're going to talk through it and talk about the sense. The sense I have on the draft right now is that Brad Holmes yet again killed it. He played this thing. We had 4 picks walking into that thing. I mean, we had 2 picks in the first 3 rounds, right? And we that's what we wound up with.
No, we had 3.
Oh yeah, we had 3. We had 3, and then we made it 2.
3 going in.
And I'll tell you, after day 2, like happens so often, after day 2, I'm a little bit confused and concerned. After a Brad Holmes draft, I was like, oh man, that's not what I'd have done. Like, they're good, like I get it, but and then day 3 happened. I was like, oh, okay, right. And now when you look at the whole package of what Holmes did, my guy's cooking with gas. I again, not giving it a grade, but this was a fantastic draft. This was absolutely well played, top to bottom, all the moves. Congratulations, Brad Holmes, and God dang, you look good in a Dan Campbell jersey.
They all look that was a sweet move, by the way. I appreciated them doing that. My stance on it is I think they did a very good job. but I do think that there are some moves and decisions that are open to question, and that's fair. That doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that it's wrong. It doesn't mean that the people who are questioning, which I'll put myself into that for a couple of them, think that it's terrible or that they need to be fired or anything. I did see a few of those on Facebook when they drafted Giovanni Manu. I'm like, oh my God, people. Really? But ultimately, because like Terrion Arnold and maybe Vaki might be the only guys who play this year at all, like you got to hold off on the grades a little bit. And one of the things that you have to do, and I've had to do this as well in evaluating the draft, is you got to shift your thought process. This team didn't need immediate starters other than one at cornerback and maybe a safety.
That's it right there. Don Burr, the only way pundits can say anything is because some of these moves won't be immediate starters per se. This is good news.
Thank you, Don. You're right.
This is good news.
That's what you want.
This used to be a team that they had to play or you were going to be a tank again. And it continued to happen where if you didn't draft perfectly, you're in the tank. We're now truly building for the future. Like, we've got players. I think both cornerbacks will compete. I think they will definitely see the field this year. But the fact that we have those and we have starters that aren't them maybe is really good news. This is excellent news for the team. And the type of people and developmental opportunities we got out of this draft is fantastic. Ooh. So the fact that they don't play right away is just fine. That's a good news. Good news.
Yeah. And that's where the draft grading, that's one of the reasons why I hate it. Like, as much as I try to stay on top of the league, and I will say that I probably do that better than like 99.8% of the people. I do tend to watch every NFL game that gets played. I do pay attention to a lot of, the moves. I don't know the intricacies of the Dallas Cowboys front office and their offensive line player development scheme and their plans for that. Like, that's over my head, and I know it's over my head, and it should be over everybody's head that isn't like right there. Yep. So I would feel very comfortable at grading the Lions draft, but if you're asking me to grade all 32, like, I don't know, man. Like, I'm not going to, first of all, you don't have enough time because there is publication deadlines on this. I don't have enough time to go through the Atlanta Falcons roster from top to bottom. Like, I know their first pick sucked. That was freaking, that's one of the most inexplicable first round draft picks I've ever seen in my life. Yep. I've covered this draft for 21 years, and that is in the top 5 of the weirdest picks I've ever seen. Like, I don't get that.
No.
But, like, if you're going to ask me, like, is there a 6th round cornerback? Where's he going to fit in there? Like, I don't freaking know. I don't have time to find that out. Like, nobody can do that. So that's one of the reasons why I push back against having to do grades. And at DraftWire, Kurt Popejoy does all the grades, and Gavino Borges, who I met this weekend. Hi, Gavino. Really good dude. He's a Chargers Wire guy. He handled the grades as well, so I didn't have to. I appreciate that.
So let's
really. It's weird that people get obsessed with the draft grades when it's people like me who know, like, I could probably issue grades for 10-ish teams that would be very in-depth and insightful, and the rest of them, I'm just winging it like everybody else is. And I prefer not to do that.
The thing, like, if you were confused by Dallas's pick, the Atlanta pick, I mean, I felt
Atlanta is
like, I got high from contact.
I swear to God, I'm still waiting for anybody to give me a good answer why. And I think, just to deviate to the Falcons for a little bit here, when the owner gets in the GM's face and is asking him pointedly, and you can see it on their camera, explain this bullshit to me.
Yeah, that's like
I don't get that. I don't get that at all.
JPJ getting drafted. They called their center and told them he's going to be a guard. We're going to draft him right now. No worries. What a class act. What a class move. Not what you'd expect from the Raiders organization even a year ago, right? Wow, good move. You go to,
you got it right.
They call Cousins and say, by the way, we're drafting a quarterback. Like, what? Like, no, it's bananas. It's absolutely bananas. I think something went wrong there. So, okay. So there's the overview of the draft. Let's dive in. First off, mucho love and respect to Terrion Arnold. not only the fact that we got him, but when he got interviewed afterward and said, "I'm home," which I love, and I said with Christian Harper, it was always Detroit, right? That you win me over immediately. And then the next morning, I don't know how many saw it. He tweeted out a picture. He's in bed wearing his Lions hat, saying he slept in his Lions hat. Let's go. I am in love with this man, right? You talk about a win, a pick, a guy who wants to be here. And I'm going to say he's another guy from Alabama who wants to be here, a lot like Brian Branch, was happy as hell to be here and came in with his freaking lunchbox and went to work. I feel like we're going to get that out of Terrion. I really, really do.
I do too. He's such a great pick. So after they get picked, they had a little bit of a walk to get to our media center, and he was dead last in the queue for the people to get done. So his interview with the media in Detroit, and I will add this, there were 4 of us who were Detroit people who were in the room, and everybody else was from out of town. So it was me, Matt Broder, Jeremy Bulrick, and who was the other guy? I can't even think of it. But we were the only one. His press conference started at 1:10 a.m. And he was still like bubbling and buzzing and full of energy. And I'm like, I need like toothpicks to keep my eyes propped open at this point. And he's come in and he answered questions lucidly and excitedly and informed wise. Like one of the takeaways that I got from it was that he had a good idea that he was coming to Detroit. I don't think he's gone that public with that. Like the press conference that he did with the Lions and the Lions media was a little bit less, curiously less like, I had a feeling that I was going to Detroit. He didn't say it in those words, but it was pretty clear from the way that he answered the question that was asked to him in the NFL media center that he had a good feeling that Detroit was going to be where he wound up.
Yeah.
So, and good, because he's great. He's a great player. Great player.
All right, let's talk about him a little bit, Riz. Tell us what we got in Terrion Arnold. Do we have a starter?
We got a dog. We got a starter. Yes, he will start. I don't think that start will go unchallenged. I think Carlton Davis and Amik Robertson will fight for it.
I love that.
That's yes,
and
exactly.
Emmanuel
That's
Mosley.
what you want.
Don't forget about Mosley out there fighting around too.
I'm glad you said that because I did the huge show today and we were talking about this very topic and I did not bring up Emmanuel Mosley and I felt bad.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? He's there and they did bring him back and like he's sort healthy, of the wild card in the whole thing. If he's healthy, like he was going to be CB1 last year.
Yep.
That was the plan. That's where it all started to unravel a little bit.
Yeah.
So you can't rule that out. So I thank you for bringing that up and thank you for jogging my mind on it because I might have forgotten it again. That's good. So yeah, there will be I think Brad Holmes used the term bloodbath for the starting cornerback jobs. That's good. That's a good thing. You have to win it instead of remember back. It was in the Martin Mayhew era, and they drafted Bill Bentley in the 3rd round, and he had to start right away. And they drafted Chris Greenwood out of Albion.
I remember that. Yep.
And like he was penciled in to be the number 3 cornerback as a 6th round pick from a D3 school. Like. Think of how far we've come from those days.
Yeah.
Like remember Devin Taylor, the giant defensive end from South Carolina. And he came in as a 7th round pick and basically won a starting job on like the 3rd day of camp just because everybody else was that bad. And then it turned out like he was okay. He did well for a 7th round pick. I don't want to besmirch his name, but it was pretty clear that he was one of the worst starters in the league. And we don't have that problem anymore. And I want that perspective in the background of everything that we're talking about here, because for a lot of us, Chris, I know it is for you and it is for me, that's still kind of fresh, like it's not that long ago that we were doing those things.
Look what Jack Campbell did to the linebacker room, right? And they all like Anzalone, right? People were out on him, and look what happened. You just elevated everybody. And you have a guy like Anzalone who's been around a little bit. You give him a young guy to mentor. He starts thinking about things that maybe he's forgetting to think about. He's not paying attention to. He's helping. He's reteaching himself things that he's, I forgot more than you'll ever know, that kind of thing. He's now being a better player because of it. This cornerback room. The other thing is this competition, iron sharpens iron, of course. They're all going to be better for it. But the one position that injuries just seem to always plague teams is at cornerback. And the type of depth we have now, like, I don't even want to talk about how many players have to go down before we get to last year's level of cornerback on this team. I mean, and again, I don't want to jinx or do anything but we have some real quality starters and depth at this position that we haven't had. I can't remember how long it's been since we've had this kind of depth at this position, Riz.
Chris, who started that game at San Francisco that we watched in your hotel room in Mobile at cornerback? Cam Sutton.
Yeah.
Currently unemployed, although it sounds like the Steelers will be signing him soon. And Kindle Vildor. Kindle Vildor is competing to be number 6 on the depth chart at cornerback. To go to the 90s. So let's see how far we've come. That was Matchbox 20, wasn't it? Put that song in your head as an earworm for a little bit. Let's see how far we've come since February. They've overhauled. And by the way, and this is something I will give Bill Simonson, the huge one, a lot of credit on this. He constantly bangs on this concept. They got rid of 2 really bad defensive position coaches and upgraded there. Too. Mm-hmm. And I will give huge credit for hammering that point all the time because he's right. And Deshae Townsend is going to make this secondary better. He would have made last year's secondary better. Look, nothing against Dre Bly. I freaking love Dre Bly as a player. As a coach, he did not get it done.
Yeah.
Don Scott, tremendous college coach. His tactics did not work with the NFL players. There's a differentiation there. And Terrell Williams, he gets that. Deshae Townsend, he gets that. So I think the combination of the imported talent, the increase in talent level with the better coaching, it could look a whole lot different in Detroit's the back end this year. And by the way, that's what everybody wanted, right? Like we all wanted change. We all wanted it to get better. This is the process of making it happen.
Yep.
There will be some bumps. That's okay. That's how you get better.
Obviously haven't seen Hooker play yet, but what do you think is the weakest area for depth on the team right now? It seems we shored up basically everything. I would say edge, and I would also say O-line kind of generally. I know we got a lot of guys, but we have to see what we have from these lot of guys because I don't think any of them are day one type starters that can give you that kind of depth immediately.
No.
So I think
we'll get to the new guys on the offensive line. Mm-hmm. Let's just say it would be somewhat shocking to see either of them this year, especially the higher one. we'll get to him. But Arnold should be starting week 1. And again, he's going to have to fight to win that position. But I think he's going to do a great job. He's fast enough. He plays faster than he timed in Indianapolis. I saw that was the biggest thing from the comments. And there was some of it in our Slack. There was some of it on Twitter. There was some of it on Facebook. There was some of it from Lions Media. Like, he ran a 4.5. Like, is that fast enough? And my counter to that is watch him play against LSU, where he had to move around positions and match up against Malik Neighbors at times. Mm-hmm. Malik Neighbors is I think he's a 4.38 guy.
Yep.
Did he ever get behind him? Watch the Ole Miss game. Watch the Florida game. Not this year, but last year. Watch Mississippi State. Did he need help over the top? The help over the top went to Kool-Aid's side all the time by design. And Alabama trusted him in that conference with all those quarterbacks and all those amazing receivers that a lot of y'all wanted in the draft and thought that the Lions were stupid for not drafting. He handled his business just fine. Is he going to be able to run with Tyreek Hill? No. Who can?
There's a difference between pajama speed and football speed. And a lot of people put a lot of weight on pajama speed. And Brad Holmes has said it, especially now with the GPS trackers. Football speed means everything.
And by the way, they do have his GPS speed. We have not been able to get that information out of anybody. By the way, including Terrion, he was asked. He kept it quiet. There are rumors that it was in the high 21.5 range.
I got someone to ask.
Plenty fast enough.
I got someone to ask.
That information will. I'm sure it will leak out somewhere sometime soon.
I'll go chase it. I got someone to ask.
Yeah. We have our ways, but his reaction timing and anticipation helps make up for that. That's not something that you saw from Cam Sutton. That's not something that you saw, again, from Kool-Aid McKinstry on the other side of their defense. Kool-Aid was a little bit more of a guesser, and he had to kind of like overcorrect at times. And his long speed wasn't good either. You're really pushing hard to find fault with a really damn good player and a very high-end prospect who the GM that we trust in explicitly, and we're told all the time that if you doubt him at all, you're a freaking moron and you need to go to hell. But then you pick on him for that was his number one defensive player on their board.
Yeah.
If you're going to trust in Brad, trust in Brad.
Yep.
If you're not, don't say you are.
Yeah.
Plain and simple.
Yeah. That's that. So that's where we are.
He's going to be so good, folks.
Terrion Arnold and Nick C.
Can we talk about the trade up to get him?
Really quick, Nick C. We all got PTSD from T's Tabor. Fair enough. But that's
fair. That's a fair comment because he was slow as hell.
Yep.
Terrion is not that.
No.
We do need to talk about the price to move up though, because this was a point of controversy.
They traded 29 and 73, the third round pick.
Yes.
And got the 24 from the Cowboys.
24, and they got Dallas's seventh rounder next year.
Yeah.
Which will probably get traded again.
Mm-hmm.
That is a lot to move up. They technically lost. If you do the draft value trade value chart, they lost on that. Some of that is expected. You're expected to be the team that loses when you move up. That's just the way you do business. They did lose a little bit more, and I have done a little digging on that, and there were other suitors who were also interested in Terrion Arnold.
Mm-hmm.
And let's say it was Kansas City, just hypothetically, moving up from 32, and they want to give you 64. Would you take 29 and 73 instead of 32 and 64? Dallas apparently probably would have done that based on sources I've heard from. So if you want your guy, you got to be willing to pay to go get him. And that
was it. The competition was in.
That was it.
Yep. The competition was in, and we wanted him. So we paid for him and we got him. And that's that. And I think that was a wise purchase. I think that was a wise purchase.
I agree.
And we'll talk a little bit later what Brad did with some of those picks. And I think he played a very smart game with those. So Terrion Arnold, 24th pick overall, cornerback from Alabama. Welcome to Detroit. Welcome home. All right. So we move on. We get down to pick 61. Man, it took forever to get there. It seemed like we were like, is Brad going to move up? Is he going to move up? Is he going to try to put package and get a second pick in day 2? Like what's going to go on here? Right. And it made sense. And then we got closer and it's like, well, maybe he'll move up a little and then use something else to get in lower in the day. And then it happened. And we just picked on time and we got Ennis Rakestraw, cornerback from Missouri Riz. Let's talk about this. Cause I know you did not like him at 29. Let's put it that way.
No,
a lot of people did though. A lot of people did. Those people had to love him at 61.
By the way, Brad Holmes would be one of them.
Yep.
He was there, and Brad said this in his press conference. They got the top 2 cornerbacks on their draft board, and they got them at 24 and 61. That's pretty good process.
Yeah.
By Brad Holmes and his crew, and anticipating that Rakestraw would fall and be there. Brad also made it clear in his press conference, so you can go watch it. It's up on their YouTube channel, that he was the best player left when they went on the clock at 61. And all right, let's do it. He was my number 58 overall player, I want to say. 56 or 58. So from that standpoint, it was a good value. I do have concerns about Ennis Rakestraw's health. I do have more concerns about his long speed because I can point you to game tapes where he did get beat over the top and did need over the help top. I also have a lot of concerns with that he's going to have a lot of re-education needs because he is an illegal contact machine. And remember, that's not a penalty in college. You're allowed to put your hands on the guy after 5 yards. In the NFL, they don't let that go. And he's going to have to clean that up. I trust that he's smart enough to figure that out. This is a guy who was on the honor roll at Missouri. He's smart on the field. He's also smart off the field. He will take to the coaching. He is not like Terrion Arnold is like an effusive personality, man. You saw him when he took the mic from the ESPN reporter. Like, that was awesome. Ennis Rakestraw would never do that. That's not his personality.
Yep.
But that's not a bad thing. Like, he's much more of like the quiet fire burning inside. I'm gonna smother you, but I'm gonna do it in a quiet way. You know, I'm not. I like that sort of yin and yang combination of your outside corners like that. I'll go back far in time. There will be a few people who remember these people. The Cleveland Browns had a great dynamic duo at cornerback back in the day of Hanford Dixon and Frank Minifield. Hanford Dixon, to this day, is still talking. He has a podcast. He was my favorite podcast guest on the Browns Wire. Like, in your face, brash, Terrion Arnold. Like, oh, by the way, he played that role as sort of an aggressive. Frank Minifield was very quiet, understated, but brought it hard.
Yep.
And like, I can see that developing out of that. And by the way, there was 2 seasons out of 5 when those two were together in Cleveland where they both made the Pro Bowl. That can happen in Detroit with this group. And as again, I'm not super high on Rakestraw. There were other people that I like better than him. But from a Lions board standpoint, he is everything that Brad wants in a cornerback. He's everything that AG wants in a cornerback. He is a press man, get in your pocket, disrupt the timing, disrupt your release. He will set an edge in the run. It's not his specialty, but he will be active in it. He can blitz. He can slide inside and blitz. Like, he's longer than Arnold. He's probably stronger than, like, there's so much to like from a Lions standpoint about him. He was one of those players that if I had the time to do a board for the Lions versus a board for every other team, he would have been a lot higher on the Lions section than overall because of just how awesome of a scheme fit he is.
Yep.
So I like it. Would I have taken 2 corners in a row? Probably not. But
let me ask you this.
I'm not unhappy with it.
Let me ask you this, and this isn't bait. This is a genuine question for you. Would you rather have, as they are today? So the second guy has more experience. Okay, so but as they are today, you're building a team. Would you rather have Ennis Rakestraw or Vildor?
Oh, Rakestraw, easily.
There you go.
Yeah.
So you've upgraded at your over starter.
He's got very high end. And the other thing, and this is something that Dr. Liao talked about in one of his videos, he does have some injury. He might not be ready for the season coming off of the core muscle surgery. Let's go back to Chris Greenwood for a second. Remember him? Core muscle surgery a month before the draft. He didn't play. That's the same time frame that you're looking at with Ennis Rakestraw. He had the surgery, I want to say it was in late February. So probably not. But again, this is where the draft strategy comes in.
Yep.
They didn't draft him to start in 2024. They drafted him to replace Amik Robertson in 2025 on the depth chart, to maybe replace Carlton Davis, to build for the future. I tend to agree with them on this strategy. They saw a guy that they can get at 61 in the second round this year, who can start in 2025 as a better option than using their first round draft pick next year, hopefully it's 32, on a cornerback next year who they might not love as much. They're willing to take that risk. I'm willing to let that ride, baby. Let's go.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So there we are. We have Ennis Rakestraw, upgrade over what we had. And yeah, okay. Peaceful Tim, kind of shocked by that. Other than the doink catch, Vildor started and played decent for a nobody. He did. And he's not a nobody. He's a human being, right? But for a name that people aren't familiar with, he came in, he played really well. That was so unfortunate. And it's one of those things fair. That it sucks that that's going to hang on him as, one of the things that he's known for, because it's just terrible, unfortunate. But the reality is we've upgraded. Now, that being said, we got two great upgrades in cornerback. Two guys that stepped to the top of the depth chart, leaving us some really, really good depth that we didn't have before. But then it's the end of day 2. And we sat through 3 rounds of the draft. And it's exactly what you said. We took 2 cornerbacks. And I'm like, there's other needs on this team, number one. I know you don't draft for need. I get that. But you also have, I think about this from a value perspective, right? You kind of want to place value across the position groups on a team, and you took a lot of value and placed it in the cornerback position and left others without any. And that's, I'm just kind of thinking that you're playing a little bit of arbitrage between the position groups as to how you can find the most value. I was concerned internally. I'm like, I know I trust Brad. I know Brad's a magician. I know he's good, but wow. 2 cornerbacks in the first 2 days, not 100% sure about where we're going here, right? Riz, where were you at with that?
That's a very good summation of where I was at too. I'm like, okay, I do like Rakestraw for Detroit. I get that, but where's our offensive line reinforcements coming from? Where is our safety? And then that started to lead to all, and this broke out in our chat. Was like, are they moving Brian Branch to safety because we have so many corners now? Like, and by the way, that's a fair discussion. That's a healthy discussion to have. I don't think they are, but you can't rule it out, and I don't think they've ruled it out. Like that. That's one of the fun things about having a fantastic weapon like Brian Branch, who can move around.
Yeah.
And by the way, Arnold played that star role at times. Brought it up. He played it in the LSU game. Because their regular star got hurt, and then I think the other guy got ejected. I want to say, or something happened with him. Not Kool-Aid, but everything's mush. Sorry. The long and the short of it is, I was wondering, like, okay, where do we go from here? Because we don't have a 4th round pick. I didn't think that this draft was more than about 125 to 135 players deep. Like after that, any one of those guys could have gone undrafted and I wouldn't have blinked. And likewise, like there was probably a pool of about 250 guys that I'm like, okay, they could go in the 5th round or they could be, signed today.
Yep.
Yep. Okay. And it wouldn't have fazed me. So from that standpoint, I'm like, are they really going to trade? Like, are they going to package their 6th to move up into the 5th? Are they going to package a 5th and like a 4th next year to move up? Well, there you go.
Peaceful Tim, I love those juicy nuggets, DLP. Thank you very much. So yes, good point here. I want to make sure I get the Detroit fan man exactly. Chris said 4 top 100 picks on 3 cornerbacks. That was in the very least concerning. Full faith in Holmes and company remains. So. End of day 2, pair of cornerbacks, offensive line, terrified. I was like, what are we going to do? What's going on here? Day 3 rolls in. I'm exhausted. I'm brain dead. I can barely go through, and I'm watching in chunks, and then I'm pausing, and then I'm going. I watched till late. I like watched some the next day, right? I had to take it in, but Saturday my brain was pudding. it was pudding. It was the best I could even describe it. So we get into day 3. We started to get into later rounds, and we decide, you know what? We're going to trade a 3rd from next year, from 25, to the Jets, and we're going to get 126. Giovanni Manu, offensive tackle out of the University of British Columbia, an offensive tackle machine, that school. They just turn them out. Every team has at least one tackle from the University of British Columbia. Obvious pick. This was the how he fell this far. Nobody knows. Name rolled off the tip of everybody's tongue. But my guy's a beast. My guy's an absolute animal.
He could be.
He's not a small man. We'll start there.
6'7", 352 pounds. He's a native of Tonga who moved to Canada when he was 11 to play basketball. Take that charge. 6'7", 352. Like, Shaq is a legitimate 7 foot. He's 320. To give you an idea of how massive this guy is. But if you look at him, like, there's a picture of him out there in like a white sleeveless shirt. Like, he's kind of cut. Like,
yeah. Oh no, he's more than kind of cut. My guy is like, what's rippling muscles? Holy cow. My guy, man, yeah. So this is going to be a real interesting. I know they are really inside the building. This is not hype, right? And people are like, what are they saying? Rakestraw's number 2. Where's Quinyon Mitchell in that? Right? Either Quinyon Mitchell, they failed on that evaluation, or Terrion's the man out here. What's going on? So there's a little bit of hype.
They clearly love Terrion.
Yeah,
they clearly love Terrion.
They had to love.
There's no question.
They had to love Quinyon too.
And I will say, and
they had to.
I put this out on Twitter. Was that I would think so, but I knew coming out of Indianapolis that Terrion was the number 1 defensive player on their board. I was led very strongly to believe that by someone who would know. So
that being said, right? The point is that there's some retcon going on, right, about what happened and or where people were or whatever, and that's fine. That's fine. Build your hype.
Yeah.
Giovanni Manu is much coveted inside that building. I know that, and they are super happy to have him. So I trust the coaching staff and the front office of this, and to have kind of a little bit of inside talk about that and what's going on with and what they're thinking of him, and that they absolutely went after him, and that's why they traded that 3rd. It wasn't like hey, we better get someone quick. This was a targeted pick that the team loves, and the guy is absolutely a beast, man. I mean, him, Skips. I mean, you think about what the Goff's not going to be able. He's not going to be able to throw the ball. He won't be able to see over any of these guys.
Imagine him playing with Bryce Young.
Oh my god! Imagine Skips as your fullback, and you got Manu as your running back, bro.
Wow. So let's talk about the compensation for a bit.
Yeah.
So they traded a 3rd round pick next year. That surprised me Saturday that they did that for him. So I did a little bit of digging behind the scenes with some other people that I trust, and he might not have gone right away, but he wasn't going to be there when the Lions picked again. That was made pretty clear. They liked him that much. I have to trust in this one, because I'll tell you what, my experience in watching Giovanni Manu, I've seen the same highlight clip y'all have. That's all I've seen of him. Now, I did talk to a CFL scout who did, in fact, see him play in person, and he said that Manu is at least 1 year away from being ready to contribute at the NFL level. But beyond that, you've made an investment in your future, and I will trust you. Thank you for that.
Yep.
You know who you are.
Well,
so I don't expect him to play this year. I don't.
So
based on that,
what we were talking about with JPJ was a guy that he could play guard this year, but he's not really in position, right? He's going to get some reps,
right?
But it was really he's not going to play this year kind of a thing. It's kind of what you're doing with Manu, right? And you're getting this guy ready, and you're giving him the best offensive line coach in the league, and one of the best offensive lines to train and learn from and with. Mm-hmm. What better situation could you have? And look, again, the one thing we know is Decker. He's going to get dinged up. It happens, right? It happens. These guys.
He just had a bone removed from his foot.
So that's one less bone that can break. It's one less bone that can break, Riz.
Look at you being the optimist, Mr. Brightside, indeed.
Oh man! So it's to have that kind of guy there, and a guy that you're putting up and learning it. And look, how long is Decker going to be around? We don't know. right? He's older.
No,
he's not old, but he's older. He could do another contract potentially. The guys do and play to that age, but we'll see. We'll see where things go. Having this kind of backdrop in a guy like that with Manu is a good play. And again, knowing how much they like him, I'm back in my trust in Holmes seat. And I sit down now and I say, okay, I'm already starting to feel better about this draft, because that was one of the positions that I was really nervous about, was what we're going to do about this offensive line. Specifically, yes. We're thinking of Ragnow, future, Decker potentially, future, and Jonah Jackson right now, right? What are we going to do in those spots?
Kevin Zeitler's on a 1-year deal.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Get his replacement in place. They did that. We'll get to that later. But yeah, so Manu, I have put in to get some game tape of him. I hope to be able to watch it very soon to make a more educated roll on him. But if you watch that highlight tape, it looks like he's playing against middle schoolers, man.
Yeah.
The Canadian College League is pretty low level. I don't want to diss it.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's probably the similar level to D3 in America is kind of the talent level. And these are guys who are playing who know they're not playing football for a living, just like most D3 players in America are. Like, we're there to, like, this is fun. We're part of a team. We're part of a group. It's awesome. It'll help us network afterwards. But for him to go in and do what he did there, playing 2 years of high school football, or college, like, and doing what he did, there's a lot to like there. But again, you're going to have to get delayed gratification on this. And this will be one, and this is a valid concern, and this was brought up by somebody to me Sunday, was, okay, you can't cut him because somebody will claim him. So he's effectively soaking up a roster spot while you redshirt him. Does that bother you? Yeah, it does a little bit. That's a fair point. That's a fair counterpoint to what would happen there. I don't know how they're going to handle that. I assume and I trust that they have a plan for that. But we'll see.
Yes. Okay. So there we go, 126. And then, are you fucking around? What are you talking about? Brad popped his head out of the draft room saying,
"You better back the fuck up out my face, goddammit. I'm from Detroit, Michigan. Don't play with me."
And traded 164, 201, and a fourth from 2024 to the Eagles to pick up Sione Vaki, a running back and safety.
Yes.
Out of Utah.
Yes.
People, the second you put running back and safety after a guy's name, everyone's like,
Godwin
what are we doing?
Igwe 2.0.
What are
Chris,
we doing?
You remember we saw him in Mobile in that one day of drills where he started the drill playing defense, finished the drill playing offense, going against the guys he was just with.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. Like, he's an easy guy to like. He's not an NFL safety. He's just not. If he is, he's your number 4, number 5. He is not as good of a safety prospect as Brandon Joseph, who went undrafted last year. I put it on Twitter. I'll reiterate here. He plays on train tracks, and if you're on the tracks, you will die. Like, he will go through you. He will punish you. Like, no mistake
Stanley
about
Whiplash wheeling with his mustache to murder somebody.
Yes.
Right?
But,
as a matter of fact,
but
that's
if
his
you're
new
not
nickname,
on his
Stanley
train
Whiplash.
tracks, if you're not on his train tracks, he won't hit you. He might not even see you. Like, he just didn't have the vision for that at all. And if you want to see it embodied in full, watch their game against Arizona last year. I got into that game because I was watching Jordan Morgan, who, by the way, is a really good pick for the Packers, unfortunately. And the Lions were very interested in Jordan, I can tell you that. I don't know if he would have been their pick at 29 had they stayed. I kind of doubt it, but I know that they liked him, and I know that they spent a lot of time on him. So, anyways, his safety tape was marginal draftability. Running back, he's got juice, man. He's kind of like a faster Craig Reynolds in the way that he runs. He attacks the hole. He puts his head down. He runs through arm tackles. He's got a stiff arm. He's got a little bit of a wiggle to him, not a lot, kind of like Craig. Like you're not going to miss him, but you're only going to like get a glancing blow on him, and he's got enough balance and lower body strength to go through.
It's just like you to blame the juice when he's playing safety. Sorry, politically charged comment. Just had to make a bad joke. It's just a joke, people. It's literally just a play on words. It means nothing. So anyway, no, this is definitely an interesting pick. I'm interested in where we see him, but the one thing I really believed in the core of my core is we're not going to see a whole lot of him this year. We're not going to recognize a whole lot of what he does on the field. And if we don't, it's actually a good thing. It's not a bad thing. And that's where we are with Snidely Whiplash. That's what I'm going to call him from now on. Sorry, he's on rails.
Where we will see him, special teams. He
Yeah.
could be your kick returner. He will be a integral piece of your punt team, your punt coverage team, your punt return team. He might be your punt returner. And your kick coverage team, he is a godsend for that unit that lost a lot this offseason. So he might only play special teams in the way that Anthony Pittman did for years.
Yeah.
But I forgot that Anthony Pittman was on the roster. He led the team in special team snaps over the last 3 years.
Yep.
He ain't here no more.
And you know what? In 5-6 years, when he gets the Special Teams Player of the Year award, a la the Germ Master, it's like that work is recognized. Great stuff. We're glad we've had you, and you've made a difference. So at 132,
now I'll play a little bit of devil's advocate here. Is that pretty early to take a special team specialist? Yeah, it is. It is. But was that one of their bigger needs on the team? Yeah, it kind of was. And if he can push Craig Reynolds to be that much better, if he can push Zonovan Knight to really fight for that number 4 spot, or Jamar Jefferson, who's still around, like that makes the running back competition and room that much stronger. If he can compete, if he makes your roster and he's playing special teams, and both, if he goes down and Brandon Joseph or whoever they sign off the street, and I do think that they're going to sign somebody fairly soon at safety, like if those guys both get hurt, you know what? He's played the position before. He might not be good at it, but he'll be better at it than a lot of other guys that you could try to plug in there. Better than putting Vildor there or Khalil Dorsey trying to play safety. Like,
well, and the other side
I
of
get
it,
that.
I want to ask you: do you think he can play a position, returning the ball off the kicker's foot, either kicker, punter, whatever?
Yes.
Do you think he can? So
absolutely. He can.
That gives us a real option there, and that's where I think people he may see the field more than not. And it gives Leaf a little bit of, less chance of getting injured, of course, right? But you a little bit of rest, right? That kind of thing allows him to be the guy that he can be and elevates him in his role and allows him to concentrate on that a little more. I like the play because he has a lot of versatility. He can backfill a lot of spots. It's this whole multiplicity or multiple thing, right? But then you have a position like that where he's fielding kicks where he can actually make a big difference without putting your other guys, the other specialists at risk.
Yes, and just to advance your point, you read my mind because that's where I was going to go with this. Now you don't have to worry about Leaf or DPJ playing special teams as much. They can focus on being a full-time wide receiver.
Yep.
Guess what? You've just filled the hole from Josh Reynolds from within.
Yep.
And if you have seen a picture of DPJ recently, holy crap, it looks like he's inflated. He has rocked himself up. Like wow.
Yeah. He is just muscle.
He's gonna be one of those dudes that's gonna get the P test every week.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because he's grown that much. And I'm not insinuating anything other than hard work there. But my God, like if you were looking for the wide body type of receiver to replace Josh Reynolds, DPJ's put his best foot forward for that.
Yeah.
And they clearly like him. Leaf should be healthy by all accounts that we've heard, and it's been very scant information. He will be ready. He'll be back. They love some Leaf. He's been their number 3 receiver over the last 3 years. They like him a lot. He's short, but he's a very good player.
Yep.
Kind of like Amik Robertson on the other side. Like, and this was another thing that came up. This actually came up with the media group that I was with. There was 4 or 5 of us who were at the USA event with Amon-Ra, and we were talking. We were sitting at a little table while the one guy was talking, and we're like, "They like the receivers, don't they?" And we all kind of were like, "Yeah, they kind of do." Like they feel better about that. None of us were. We left there, and the guys who were there will vouch for this. We all left there thinking they're not taking a wide receiver in this draft, that they believe in their guys. And oh, by the way, Antoine Green was a 7th-round pick last year who we knew wasn't going to play. Like, he was a draft pick last year for this year.
Yep.
There's going to be a theme with that. You saw it with Manu. He's a draft pick this year for next year. That's what they're doing now.
Yeah. But they can.
And as fans,
they can.
Because they can. Yes. And as fans, it's freaking weird because we're used again to the opposite scenario that we talked about. We're not that team anymore.
Yeah.
I love it.
And it kind of leans on not
even if it doesn't work. I love it.
It's great to not be the youngest team in the league, especially if you're growing older with the players that you draft. And you're letting your young guys sit and grow in position and fill out. Because one of the things we've talked about, and I love it that Hutch was such a lightning rod for this perspective for folks, because they didn't see it and then they did, is what a year of strength and conditioning and nutrition in the NFL does to a man's body. Everyone, Hutch is ripped. Year 2, holy fucking shit, Hutch is ripped, right? It was a whole different body when he came back to training camp last year. That's what's going to happen, and these guys get an opportunity without injury, right? Without playing injuries, to get rocked up, to get nutrited up. I'll make that word up. I don't care. And to get into the very best shape of their lives before they get on the field and start giving and taking hits. I love that opportunity, and I love that way of aging a team as far as your average player age. Love it. And that's what development is. That's how your coaches get better too, by actually being able to develop and see these guys develop. The younger coaches who aren't developmental coaches yet can learn from that. You're growing your talent from a coaching staff. You're growing your talent from a player perspective. Across the board, the team is getting better. And that is what you want, rather than trying to put Chris Greenwood from frigging Albion on the field as a 6th-round cornerback. Good luck, right? Totally different world.
We're not that team anymore, Chris.
Thank you.
On to the next one.
All right. On to the next one.
Cheesy song, I know.
132 finishes up with Sione Vaki, also known as Snidely Whiplash. And then we go down another 57 picks, and we trade 205 and 249 to the Tejans. And we wind up picking up Makai Wingo, defensive tackle out of Louisiana State Universidad. Never heard of him. Never heard of that school. I know I'm a University of British Columbia guy. I'm all tuned in there, but I've never heard of LSU or Makai Wingo. Did we do anything here? Was this a move, Riz? What happened at 189?
The best thing to know about Makai Wingo is that he earned the number 18 jersey at LSU. And if you know anything about LSU football, you know that's significant. They give that not to just their best player on defense. They give that to their leader. They give that to the guy who's got that dog in him, for lack of a better phrase. He's got that. Now, he is small. He's a 280-pound 3 technique. Now, they did move him around, so he did play some 7. He's played some 5. This is your John Kaminsky / Josh Paschal succession plan. That's who he is. He might not make the team this year. That's okay. That means that Paschal was that good and healthy. That means that the commish is back and rolling and being the guy that he is. But you know what? Commish is on the last year of his deal. Onwuzurike, last year of his rookie deal, hasn't worked out. Now they've got a guy who can play that exact role, who can float between a 3 technique, a 5 technique, and a 7 technique, playing inside of Hutchinson and get in the backfield and disrupt. That's what they drafted Onwuzurike for, and it hasn't worked to this point.
this point.
Now they've got another guy who can do that.
I'm hovering over the horn this year for Anzarike, but you got to this point because this is the year where he's got to prove it, right? We took the gamble with his injury. He's back. He did it remarkably well last year, and I want to make sure he gets credit for what he did, because to come back from an injury like that, he did remarkably well, and he had some really nice plays and some good film, and he's had now this offseason. I'm excited to see what Anzarike does this year, because if he becomes the guy that he really could, based on what we saw this year, that's something. That's a freight train no one saw coming. Bring out Snidely Whiplash again, the second, because that's going to be beautiful. That is going to be beautiful if he can be what he's supposed to be. And again, with the way he healed and played last year, it seems like anything's possible right now.
Yeah, I like it, and I'm bullish on what Levi can do. And now they've got competition. Now he's got some push. He's not going to make this roster this year unless he earns it. Yeah. Last year he didn't. Who did he have to beat out last year? I mean, Sawed-Off got suspended. Like, that was his competition. Like, they didn't really bring anybody else in of consequence. Benito Jones, come on. Isaiah Buggs, like. That was the rare misstep on the character grit scale. And I think they learned from that. And I don't think you'll see anybody like that again with this regime. Yeah. And Wingo is not that kind of guy. Now, it's tough to play as a 3 technique at 280 pounds and with fairly short arms. So he went where he was supposed to go. And I'm happy that he's a Lion. And I like the fact that he's going to join a group that should get very good coaching finally, and should, get some push. And if he makes it, that's even better. If he's ahead of schedule, that's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
I like good problems.
Yeah.
And I told him I didn't mind trading them at all, because that's less than I had to write on Saturday. I'll be selfish there. Like 2 picks for 1. Yes! Do it again, Brad. Do it again. Please.
Yep. All right. So 189, 205 to 249 gets us Mekhi Wingo. Any final thoughts on Herr Wingo before we move on, Riz?
I hope that he stays healthy, because he's a very intriguing guy. So to go back to the second round, I know they liked Michael Hall out of Ohio State a lot as a 283-pound wrecking ball on the inside. He's a better player than Wingo is, like, no doubt about that. And I had a pretty strong hunch and somewhat of a semi-educated feeling that if the Browns didn't draft Michael Hall, that he was going to wind up being very strongly in consideration for the Lions' second-round pick. Excuse me. The Browns drafted him as expected, so it was kind of a moot argument. But they got that same kind of guy. So they clearly had their eyes on a situational NASCAR package type of interior defensive lineman to play behind a Reader and behind a Lean. And if he can be a rotational guy who gets 10 snaps, plays 2 drives a game, that's awesome. So that makes the Lean that much better. Yep. It makes him that much fresher when he's got to chase the quarterback in the fourth quarter of a playoff game. Yep. And maybe this time he'll catch him instead of just getting a finger on him.
Yep.
That's what it's about.
All right. Then we move on to the final pick of the draft, number 210, Christian Mahogany, offensive guard out of Boston College. Well-known, big man, carries the ball. And you want to know what a Dan Campbell guy looks like? He does keg stands when he scores touchdowns in the end zone. That's my guy, Christian Mahogany. Keg stands in the end zone. I am here for it, and I'm here for more of that. Please. Again, put him behind Skips. Let's go.
Chris, how much did I love this guy? You know.
Yeah. So
I would have taken him in the second, personally. He was a top 30 player on my draft board. That's how much I love this guy.
Yep.
He fell for... He had a torn ACL in 2022, and he came back a little bit heavier, a little bit top heavier to be specific.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not a guy who's going to, he's going to destroy you in a phone booth. And he can pull one gap either way. He's going to put you on your ass.
Yep.
And you will be able to run behind him wherever he goes. But if you're asking him to go 2 gaps, or if you're asking him to get out and engage the middle linebacker right away, not his game. So for teams that were like zone blocking teams, and I think the breakdown, my guy Corey Kinnan at Brownswire broke this down. I think 21 of the 32 NFL teams use some form of outside zone. The Lions are a power gap blocking, run blocking team. So he didn't have an appeal to like 2/3 of the league, like off the bat. It just wasn't going to be them.
But there's something else, Riz.
He fits the. Oh, do you have information here?
I have some information. A little bit of Chris Dust. This is interesting, and it's so he. I know you didn't know this. I know nobody knew this. And only people inside know this. I know this actually from outside of Allen Park, but why he fell, and it's so interesting. The way that these teams look at players is far beyond just film and GPS speed and everything else. The word on the street is, and it's not even on the street, but in another place, is that he has a leg that's longer than the other one by a decent amount. And
really,
yeah, okay, that's a physical anomaly.
All right,
but it doesn't change the way the guy plays, right? I don't know if they have to like give him 2 different length pads. It's not an equipment issue, obviously. I'm being silly, right? But it's interesting. So you like you said, 2/3 of the teams were out on him for scheme fit,
for schematic reasons.
Yeah. But then he falls.
That makes sense. That's fine.
But the quality of the player is there. You've seen him. You know what he's got.
Yes.
And for something like this, right? It's really strange, and it's one of those things that teams look at everything. And I think something like this makes them a little bit nervous because from like a strength and a training and a conditioning and all that, how do you deal with that? It's different than everything you know. And how are you going to ensure that both sides are as strong as one another, right? I mean, I'm kind of making this part of it up or kind of getting into the thinking of it, but it is a physical anomaly as to why he wound up where he is. Crazy to me because he still plays.
I wonder what the discrepancy between the legs is, but I wonder if this one of the prominent draft people, and I want to say it was Lance Zierlein, who works for NFL.com, brought up the fact that he could only ever play right guard. And I wonder if that has something to do with it. I don't know, but that might help explain why Lance. I want to say it was Lance. If it wasn't, I apologize, Lance. You're a good dude. Mm-hmm. And I don't mean to like get that wrong, but like this person was really adamant that like he can only play right guard in the NFL. And that always struck me as really weird. I'm like, okay, he's not dumb. Like, he did actually play some left guard at BC for a little bit before he got hurt. Like, I wonder what's going on there. I wonder if the injury to the knee was the catalyst for the... do you know which leg is longer than the other one? I don't even know.
It's not the third, like the comment says. But...
I knew it was coming.
I know. I wasn't even going there, but it's the comment. It was the comment. It was in the comments. It wasn't even me. I wanted to, but they gave me the excuse to do it. Now Brian Emanuel, thanks for refraining from making a third leg joke. Sorry, Brian. Sorry. I've dashed all your hopes.
Chris is still 12. Hold on.
I've dashed all your hopes. My apologies. My sincere apologies. I didn't do it though. It was in the chat. I couldn't. Once it's there, I can't not. Right. But I don't know which one. I can speculate because I can't stop looking now. You know what I mean? But the player is the player.
You know what I'm doing as soon as we're done here? I'm firing up the PC all 22.
Yeah.
I got like 9 games of them.
But here's the thing about him. And I think people, when you watch film, this is something people really, really need to watch. He's probably our best puller behind Panay. Watch him. I watch him. He
can
just
go one gap. Phenomenal.
Just watch. And I'm telling you, I love this pick. I love this pick. I love this kid. And I hope, again, this is a little bit of St. Brown, a little bit of Branch. I hope this chip is gigantic. And he says, go yourself 31 other teams and just eats the snot out of the defenders and the Rams. I want him to go just chow down out there and eat and get himself a position, because he's got everything now to play for, right? Not the guys don't, but he's just got that little extra gas in the tank to say, I'm fine, and do it. So I hope so.
He was someone, and so he was one of my guys in this draft. He was my offensive lineman of choice, of preference. And in the write-up for it, I compared him to the drummer from the band Periphery. His name is Matt Halpert. He's incredible. And the reason I did that was because if you know anything about the band Periphery, they have 3 guitarists who are all like ridiculous virtuosos. And you go see them in concert, and the drummer steals the damn show. You're like, holy crap, look at that guy go.
Have you seen the one?
What it was with the BC offense. Like the BC offense, they've got all the skill position players. Like, they weren't bad, but like, you're watching their guard and are just like I love that. I'm gonna listen to some Periphery now too.
There's a band, I've seen them on YouTube, and they're like a wedding singer band or whatever. The drummer he looks like Animal from the Muppets. He's absolutely insane. And he's joking around, making scene behind, like, I got to find it for you. You will die. The guy is fantastically hilarious. It's the goofy drummer, the crazy drummer, something like that is what he goes by. It is a fantastic watch. It is and he's got a couple videos are great. So anyway, I'll leave it at that.
But the ability to like take your eyes on like the focal point of your offense, if you just like sit and start to watch the film, you're like, oh my God, look at that guy. He's killing people up front.
Yeah.
Like good people. Oh, he did it to everybody.
Yep.
Like, I have no doubt he is an NFL starting guard.
Pro
Bowl upside.
Blackbeard is his name.
Might not happen this year, but what's that?
Blackbeard's his nickname.
Oh.
God. Come down and join me with some rum runners. My friend will have a good Blackbeard run at the old set sail for.
Yeah, so I love Christian Mahogany. He should be your Kevin Zeitler. He's on a 1-year deal at 34 years old. He is your Kevin Zeitler replacement plan. They've got it in place already. Hank is going to love this guy.
Yeah. Ben
Johnson's going to love this guy. Yeah. More to the point, Jahmyr Gibbs and especially David Montgomery are going to freaking love this guy.
And just so you know, he can play both sides. He can play both sides. The leg doesn't make him play one or the other, just so you know. He's either side.
I'm not surprised by that at all, but I don't see any reason why he couldn't. He is better right today than any backup lineman they have on the team.
Yep.
100%. Right now.
Yep.
He's better than Alshika. He's better than Sorsdal. He's better than Manu today. Might not be in 2 years. Fingers crossed on that. Again, I haven't watched Manu play, so I can't talk intelligently about him. I'm hoping and praying that it works.
What if they both hit, though? Oh my God.
And honestly,
2 of those this year, get 2 of those this year.
If you hit one of those, or let's say 2 out of the 3 of them and Sorsdal, who was a 5th round pick last year, if all those guys if 2 of those 3 get a second contract with your team, that's a win, man.
Yeah.
You have super cheap depth for years.
Yeah.
You've got to have that when you're paying Penei Sewell, the highest paid offensive tackle in the NFL. When you make Amon-Ra St. Brown the highest paid wide receiver in the NFL.
For 32
by the way, they did that last week. We haven't even talked about that yet. They paid $230.2 million
to
those 2 for 4 years apiece. Like, yeah.
4 years from now, they'll be cheap.
Hit on some of those guys.
4 years from now, those guys will be cheap, though. And that will be just fine.
That's right.
All right.
That's what we need.
Christian Mahogany gives me the wood for sure. I love this guy. He's going to be a heck of a player. gonna be something special for this team. What a pickup at 210. What does that mean? We talked about all these trades. What does this mean for the Detroit Lions in 2025 for the draft? You always got to think a little bit ahead. So next year we have a first, a second, a fourth, a fifth, a sixth, which is the Bucks pick, a seventh, and this Cowboys seventh. So we're missing a third next year, Riz.
Yes, and we're missing our own sixth, right? Yes, our own sixth is DPJ.
Yep.
They traded that to the Browns for Donovan Peoples-Jones' last trade deadline.
Yep.
They had an additional six. They did a pick swap with the Jets in the Denzel Mims deal.
Yep.
They canceled that trade. Both sides agreed to cancel the trade because Mims lasted 10 days in Lions camp and got hurt. And basically they're like, okay, whatever. Never happened.
Leave it at you. Yeah. So there you are. That's where the Detroit Lions draft lands this year. I feel, again, congratulations, Brad Holmes. I know
good draft.
Yeah.
Good draft.
People were talking up and down, wondering, questioning. He had to poke his head out a couple times out of the draft room.
You better back the fuck up out my face, goddammit. I'm from Detroit, Michigan. Don't play with me.
And then people quit playing and he went to work. And then there we are. Now, look, here's the other thing. Got to say this. Love your jerseys. You want to get your Dan Campbell black jersey? You got to get going. Go to fanatics.detroitlionspodcast.com, fanatics.detroitlionspodcast.com. Juice yourself on over there and get some of those sweet jerseys. It's a great way to help the podcast. We're doing something you were going to do anyway. Fanatics.detroitlionspodcast.com. There you go. All right. Riz, look, we were going to do UDFAs. We don't have time. There's too many guys to go through. Let me just clarify one thing for folks now about UDFAs, and we'll do those next week. And then we'll cover the last thing that we were going to cover. Just so people know, there's a UDFA versus the rookie tryout, the minicamp tryout. And a lot of people are like, what's the difference, right? The first one is contractual status. The UDFAs actually have a contract with an NFL team. The tryouts don't have a contract. They have guarantees and compensation. The tryouts don't. The teams have committed to them. The tryouts don't. And the competition level is, these rookie tryouts are just showing what they can, hoping to stick, or have to bump somebody to get there. You've got a formal commitment from a team as a UDFA, a little bit of financial security, better chance to make the final roster. A rookie mini camp tryout is really just an opportunity to impress and potentially earn a contract, but it doesn't guarantee any compensation, a spot. Nothing. You're just there hoping you look beautiful.
You want an example of that? Look at Drummond last year from Eastern Michigan, the wide receiver who parlayed that into, he didn't make the team. He's on another roster now. I should probably know where he's at. I can't think of where he's at, but he's like still around, and he was a rookie mini camp tryout guy. They might find someone again this year. They've released a few of those names. The only guys we know for sure they've signed are the guys who have the reported bonuses. That's Isaiah Williams, the wide receiver, former quarterback from Illinois, who they are paying more than they are paying a 7th-round pick, which they didn't have. Pretty good indication that they like him a lot. If you want more on that, our guy Russ Brown did a fantastic breakdown on that on Lions Wire. Go look at that. Trust in Russ on that. I edited it, and I'm like, yeah, I like this one. This is good. And I kind of liked him as a player, too. So that was a good one. And the other one is the center from UCLA, and his name escapes me. They paid him, I want to say it was $60,000 guaranteed, which is a pretty good indication that he will at least wind up making a practice squad somewhere, if not in Detroit. The other guys, we don't know if they're minicamp invites, if they are, or if they're signed as UDFAs. Unless the agent specifically specified it, and I'll be honest with you, I haven't had the time to go through that crap yet.
Okay, Riz, question for you from Brandon. Do you think the Lions have upgraded from the Aquara brothers and the Harrises?
Oh, yeah. Some of it depends a little bit on Marcus Davenport, if he can stay healthy. Some of it depends on Matthew Betts, and one of the things that I did learn over the weekend, the Lions like what they got in that dude. CFL guy. I haven't studied them enough to know one way or the other, but they seem to really like what they've got there, so that's good. For the Harrises, Charles didn't really do much of anything. So I mean, you got to hope that they have from Charles and Will. Don't count Will Harris out from being on this roster. And
safety.
He's one of those.
It's got to be safety.
Again,
there's too much depth at cornerback, Riz.
They love him. They love him, Chris. You know they love him.
I know,
it's
but we've drafted
to me
quarterbacks.
The fact that his roster spot has not been filled by anybody yet. I don't know. I'm just speculating here. It would not surprise me at all if their free agent safety addition is Will Harris and they called it a day. Would I be happy with that? Hell to the no. But
what's the do you
that
think
wouldn't surprise me at all if that's their course of action.
You think the Rake could wind up as safety? Ennis Rakestraw?
Maybe. It's tough to ask a guy who's coming off of surgery and just focusing on getting healthy to switch positions to a place where he's never played before. That's what bad teams do.
Yep.
I'll just put it that way.
Peter,
that's a tough ask, man.
Van Larhoven, did Sorsdahl improve at all in the offseason with strength and body type? I have to imagine. I have been checking everywhere trying to find out and follow that, and I cannot get an answer. I cannot get a viz. This could be, and I don't want to oversell this, right? But this could be one happy surprise for Lions fans this year because he developed really nice. He was, I hate to say it, it sounds bad to say it this way, but he was like a lost puppy following Hank around on the sideline every game, every play last season. He was stuck to him like glue.
He was swimming in some deep waters, man.
Yeah, he was doing everything he could to get his lips around that fire hose and take it all in. And I have a feeling he's committed himself. I hope so. It could be a heck of a story if he did. And if he pops too, you know what I mean, Riz? Holy cow, it's an embarrassment of riches suddenly, right? From where we felt like it was said at the early part of the show, felt like it might be a little bit of a weakness, to all of a sudden we're in a crazy spot.
Good problems are indeed good problems.
Yes, they are, man. First world. Is Chris wearing pants today? No. Let's get to it then. We will do UDFAs next week. We were going to go around the division for the draft as well, so we'll go into that, and then we'll of course have all the Lions news. But we'll get into all that stuff. We're just running out of time a little bit here. We got another topic we got to get to though. Panay and Saint Payday. We got two boys that got paid. They're making the juice. And look, Riz, you and I both think neither one of them deserved it. The Lions made a terrible mistake. Why the hell will you pay these two this kind of money? You're just setting the precedent that all your bad players are going to get paid too much money.
Oh, they're so good. It was fascinating the way that broke down because it was one of those, they announced Saint, or the news about Saint leaked first.
Yeah.
It turns out, I didn't know this until this weekend, they actually got the agreement done with Panay first, but the Saint stuff leaked first. So they kind of staggered like where they were at with it. That was crazy. So I did the huge show on Wednesday and was driving to Detroit and had to pull over to write at the rest stop that's outside of Portland. Between Lansing and like I gotta write the Panay extension up on my phone at a rest stop. Oh my God!
Why are you spending so much time at rest stops?
This is what I've become.
Why are you spending so much time at rest stops? Why are you spending so much time at rest stops?
Michigan has nice rest stops, man. The bathrooms are clean. They got vending machines, good places to park. It's nice.
Okay. All right.
You can have a picnic there if you want. They're good. But yeah, they just great signings. Like, I don't know how I literally don't know how anybody could be upset about paying these guys and rewarding them for what they've done. And, oh, by the way, paying them premium money to continue getting better. Because guess what? They're both still getting better. We haven't seen Panay's best football yet. We haven't seen Saints' best football yet. I can't fathom how they could get better, but they can.
Yep. Yep. So let's see. Chris and Jeff, you want to know some high paydays? Check out the Eagles' offensive line numbers. I can't help but think we overpaid St. Brown. I love him as a player, but 30 million's a lot for a slot. I think he was 54% on the outside of his routes last year.
Yes,
he's not
exclusively a slot.
Yeah, so
he moves a lot.
Yeah.
And Saint talked about that. He got defensive when somebody called him a slot receiver at the USAA event. Like he's like, I play everywhere. I'm not giving an exact quote because I don't remember, but he's pretty adamant that he's not just a slot. Yep. And he talked about how Ben knows how to get him in the best matchup. And if that means running him in motion, if that means having him stop in the backfield for a second and then go to the slot, it helps Jared read the defense that much better. Don't call him a slot. That's
and Ash.
That's not what he is.
Ash is gonna break down the contracts a little bit too and help people out because there's a lot of information about this that there's nuance to this. I'm saying backloaded. You got the extra rookie year deal out of or every extra year of his rookie year out of him, and it's fine. Everything's fine.
I was shocked there was only one void year, to be honest with you, because the way they throw void years around, I thought there'd be like 8. There was only one, and that made me happy.
Yep. And DCP1. This is the point. Whether he plays slot, whether he plays X, Y, Z, I don't care because he catches the ball for first downs and touchdowns, and that's what I need. I don't care where he starts the route tree from.
And he does that literally better than any other receiver in the league.
Yep, exactly. So there you go. All right, really quick. We've been through that. We are at time.
Signings.
Yeah, they just keep getting hits, man. It's like I was gonna say it's like Led Zeppelin back in the 70s, but I mean these guys just keep knocking the hits. It's Michael Jackson just hitting number one over and over and over. Good stuff. Again, I'll go back to kind of one of the opening things I talked about. Enjoy it, folks. Breathe in and just enjoy it. Take the moment and smell the roses and just wallow in the joy that your team is competent and doing great things. It's a good time to be a Detroit Lions fan.
Didn't I once say on this show to stop and smell the roses and before you piss in the garden?
Yeah, and quit pissing in the garden all the time.
Something like that?
Yeah, I have it. I'll have it next week, I promise.
It's still good advice.
Oh, yeah.
One of my rare hits on good advice things.
I had so many Rizisms that I literally have way too many. I have more Rizisms than buttons now, so I don't even capture them anymore, but unless they're really good. If they're really good, then okay.
So the message that I'm getting here is that I need to shut the hell up.
There you go. All right. Well, don't forget about us on Patreon.
Do it.
Patreon.com/Detroit Lions Podcast. Patreon.com/Detroit Lions Podcast. $5 or more a month helps support the show in a great way, and we really appreciate it when you do that. Also, it gets you access to the Slack chat, the most intelligent Lions chat on the internet. And I tell you, the world slows down to nothing. The Reddit slows down. Everything slows down in these coming month and a half ahead, 2.5 months really. You got about a month. You got about a month of good football left, and then a couple of weeks of slowish football, and then it's the dead zone.
Chris, we have the schedule release coming out. We got rookie minicamp, then we got mandatory minicamp.
We've got a good month to month and a half-ish is pushing it of football, and then that's it. So you'll want the Slack. You'll want to spend the time. So get there. Patreon.com/Detroit Lions Podcast. Talk to Riz, Ash, Chris, Dr. Liao, Bish, Brown. The whole crew's there. Watch your stuff from Bish and Brown this week. They'll go into probably a lot of the UDFAs. You got Ash stuff coming out this week as well. A lot of good content coming your way on the Detroit Lions Podcast channel and podcasts. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at DET Lions Podcast. DET Lions Podcast. That's where you find out I'm pants free and get to enjoy all that kind of fun being pants free. And I have to say, be sure to go to DetroitLionsPodcast.com. What's it, DetroitLionsPodcast.com? Well, if you go there and subscribe, what happens?
A suitcase like that.
Let me know if that works from just a subscription, but try it. See if it happens. See what happens. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hit the like, please. We appreciate when you do that. And thank you for tuning in. We're going to see you next time on the Detroit Lions podcast. It's a great looking suitcase. Remember, no pants, no toasters, no hot tubs. No problems, baby. Because we're your Detroit Lions and Reddit connection. Thank you all. We'll talk to you soon. Bam, 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 bam.